There seems to be an almost Groundhog Day to our morning routines. We wake up, we turn on the news, and we learn of another mass shooting at a prom, at a movie theater, at a workplace, at a house of worship, or frankly, any normal walk of life in any city, town, or rural area in America. How desensitized have we become to this madness? Here's Rick Smith with the state of gun violence in our nation.
Lots to talk about. I want to start off today. Watched a video, and it's been stuck with me a good portion of the day. We've all heard the story of the guy in upstate New York who someone pulled into the driveway, and a 65-year-old guy just, I guess, who knows, decided to shoot out at the car and shot and killed a 20-year-old girl. Well, her father was at a press conference, and it was one of these things that my heart breaks for this guy. I've got two daughters. I have no idea my reaction. I have no idea how I would handle it. I know I would agree with him. I hope the guy dies in jail. I hope he gets what he deserves. But I'm watching this, and he's telling the story about this Kaylin Gillis's boyfriend who wanted to marry her, and he would have been thrilled that if they'd have gotten married. And he's telling this story about how the first time he sees this kid, the kid says it's all my fault. And he did what any decent person would do, say, no, it's not your fault. He said, no, it's no one's fault except the man that pulled the trigger. You guys had no idea something that bad could happen on a backcountry road. That has stuck with me today. That's one of those things that I've been mulling around in my head all day today, and it's one of those things where you don't expect these things to happen. But you know what? It is. I do believe it's others' fault. I do believe that we've been moving toward this point. And, Republicans have been doing everything they can possibly do to make, buying guns and accessing guns and bigger and more deadly guns available. The NRA has been, the right wing of the right arm of the Republican Party pushing this stuff. And I've joked in the past that I'll guarantee you they want vending machines with whatever you want. You need that AK, just pull the lever. And not just making access to them much more easily gotten, but the idea of using them. And we've done this through legislation. Everywhere we look right now, the right-wing fetish is we got to make it easier to get guns. I guess Missouri just made it even easier than it was before, which and I started thinking about, it's one thing to have the guns available, and we've got, 5, 6, 7, 10 guns per person in this country. But you start looking at the legislation that Republicans have been moving. And I blame Republicans because this is their baby. It's all about the guns. It's all about feeding the gun fetish. Stand your ground laws, castle doctrine laws, anything that they can do to make using the gun justifiable. And, I started thinking about this today. You got a 20-year-old who gets killed for pulling into the wrong driveway, a 16-year-old who gets shot through a screen door for knocking on the wrong door, a 6-year-old and their parents shot because a ball rolls into the other yard. And my mind goes to this place, this is nuts. I started thinking about the 85-year-old guy who's sitting in his living room, and a black kid knocks on the door and he's shot through the screen door. I started thinking of, is this guy sitting there holding the gun? Are these people, are they that accessible that they're right there? And why? So this image popped into my head of these guys sitting there watching the F channel, having fear jammed down their throat at every moment, being fed the outrage fear candy of the day, feeling secure in that I got my gun, and that it's okay to use it. You know, good guy with a gun. I'm a good guy. And I started thinking about this. I'm going, how is it that we're in this place? And because look, I grew up in the 70s. Crime was much, much higher in the 70s. Violent crime, way higher. In fact, the murder rate in the 70s was right around 9.5 per 100,000. Peaked at 10.2 per 100,000 in 1980. The 70s were deadly. We're half that. We're less than half of that now. But yet, everybody you talk to seems to think that there's violent crime everywhere when the statistics don't bear that out. We are a much safer society much safer than we were in the 70s. Much safer than we were in the 80s. It was Clinton, and I, as much as I don't like Clinton, you got to give him credit for the bill that put more cops on the road that did bring the crime rate down. And yet here, all we're told is this fear and this anxiety about around every corner, MS-13, around every corner there's a violent criminal. When again, the numbers don't bear it out. And look, I've said before, when I was a kid, I witnessed lots of violence in my neighborhood. I grew up in a housing project on the west side of Cleveland. There was violence in our neighborhood. I witnessed it. I've seen people shot, stabbed, beaten, all of that. You don't see that in the vast majority of neighborhoods. In those poor areas where I grew up, which we could deal with if we had the will, but we don't. But I started thinking about this today. They've scared a generation of people, old white guys, into thinking that there's bad around every corner, and that the only way to stop it is with being a good guy with a gun. So they don't think they did anything wrong because they were told you get to stand your ground. And I've made the comment before that, look, I don't know at what point we have to just shoot each other if someone gives you the side eye. Because I don't know if they're going to shoot me first or I have to shoot them first. This is where we're going. And I started thinking back to when it all went really apparently wrong. And I go back to George Zimmerman. We are right now in the natural destination post George Zimmerman. The idea that you can start a fight with some kid for no reason, and that kid can start to beat you like you should be, and then you say, hey, I was defending myself. I had to shoot him. Where when I was a kid, and I've said this 1,000 times, if you started a fight with somebody and you got your butt whipped, you deserved it. And everybody agreed you deserved it. Now we're a culture of you start a fight, you cause problems, you do it, you kill somebody, well, I was standing my ground. Or someone knocked on my door. The argument is going to be, I was afraid. I was defending my castle. No one should have been there. And the story, this 65-year-old guy who has shown no remorse. He's going to say, look, I live in the middle of nowhere. Violent crime all around us. The car pulled into the driveway. I was expecting bad things. I fired a warning shot. And oops, sorry, I hit somebody. Because here's the thing. Had he fired the shot and missed, would he go to jail? I don't think so. So I started thinking about this. I'm going, when did we become so skittish, such cowards, so afraid of what's around every corner? And it's the F channel. It's right-wing talk radio. It's all of this. Be afraid of your neighbor.